I've cut out all of my materials and I'm ready to do the hard trapunto. In this area, I'm using Petronios all-purpose contact cement, which is a permanent adhesive. I only want to do it just where the hard trapunto is. So in this area, again, Petronios all-purpose contact cement, which means it only sticks to itself, so you have to do both parts, and only in the area where the hard trapunto is. In the rest of the area, I will be sewing, and so I will be using barge rubber cement. So you'll notice my outside leather is a little bit bigger than my bonded leather stay, and that is so I can line it up easier. It's very difficult when you're doing raw edge. I will be doing French binding around the edge, but I want it to be all raw edge even. It's really difficult to line it up. So I cut out the outside leather about a ½ inch bigger all the way around. Once the glue has dried, so it is no longer wet, it can still be just a little tacky to the touch, you want to go ahead and put the pieces together. So first, I just like to smooth everything out, going around the image and along the book cover itself. And then to really help define the image that has the hard trapunto, I'll use a bone folder to go around that image. Once satisfied with that part, I do have a piece on the back cover that's going to have hard trapunto as well, so I'll do the same steps for the back side. So I have the front and back cover done, and now I need to cut out these little breaks along the spine that was holding the three pieces of stay together. So you want to make sure you cut those away, otherwise you'll have a little indentation or bump in the spine of your book cover, and you don't want that. And after cutting out all the breaks, I'll go ahead and cut around the outside so everything is nice and even and ready to be bound. My binding is going to be done in 2 strips. I'm having it meet in the center of the spine. When you're doing this, you want it to overlap by about 3/8 of an inch and cut it at about a 45-degree angle. So that way you are distributing the bulk instead of having one big lump right in the center. It will kind of even out a little bit and make it less bulky. So I'm getting ready now to sew on the binding. I'm using the 1/8 of an inch edge foot for the first step. And when you are starting this, again, I did it in 2 separate pieces. You want to start in the center of the spine with the first piece of binding. So I can go ahead and start sewing that on now. Now that half of the binding is sewn on, to prepare for the second part, I cut the first one at a 45-degree angle. I'm doing the same with the second piece and overlapping it by 3/8 of an inch. Remember, don't put any rubber cement or double-faced tape on this part of the binding. You just want to hold it with your fingers or with binder clips. Once I finish sewing the first step of the binding, I will put in the lining fabric, and I'm using fabric because the leather from the binding will cover it, so I don't have to worry about fraying. And also I'll place the sleeves into their correct position before sewing the second step of the French binding. Now, using rubber cement, I will carefully glue around the edge, the back side of the binding, all the way around, and then just right along the edge, like where the stitch line is. And once that's dry, I can go ahead and start folding it over into place for the second step. Once all the binding is turned nicely over the edge, I can go ahead and sew the second part, which is with the zipper foot, where you're stitching in the ditch right as close as you can to the edge of the binding. After you're done sewing the binding on, you can trim that excess off in the inside, and then you have yourself a nice, clean, beautifully designed and sewn book cover.